Okay, I think we'll be cognizant of everyone's time as some people are actually trying to run some aquatic facilities right now. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. I am recording this meeting so you guys can go back and listen, or those that don't happen to be on the call can hear this important information that we're all going to share with each other. So just kind of a request that came out to me to kind of do a follow-up to see where facilities are, those that did open, things that are going well, things that they've been changing every 24 hours, things that if they got the chance to press the restart button, what they would do all over again here. So those that didn't open, are you wishing that you would have tried a few things here as well? So just really want to make this your meeting, kind of come together here, and hopefully we can learn from it. You know, who knows what's going to be in place next year. And as far as swim lessons and all of that, just share what you got going on here. So is there anyone that wants to start out? All right, who on this call has facilities that are actually open with swim lessons, lap swim? All right, Jennifer, you can take it from here. Let us know how it's going on your end in Marshalltown.
So we're doing pretty well here. One thing that so 2 days prior to us opening to the general public, we received an email, Jeff and I did, from our inspector, and with a list of, you need to be doing this or you shouldn't open. And it should have, I wish he would have sent it to us 2 weeks prior, like he said he was going to, but turns out we were doing everything on that list except for 2 things. And one of those things being having a sign-in sheet for contact tracing and asking 2 health questions regarding COVID-19. So real easy fixes. We implemented those, not a problem. We stay under half capacity. We are trying not to get up to 300, which we have yet to, even on hot days. They sanitize in between constantly. We close restrooms off to sanitize. We've gotten a lot of compliments on how clean the facility is and how, with everybody doing what their part, that they feel, the patrons feel safe. So everybody, it seems like around us, ends up closing. So the Conrad pool closed due to a positive case. The Melbourne pool closed due to a positive case. The country club here closed, and there's since been reopened, but everybody seems to be closing for something. So, okay. But we're trucking along, doing just fine.
Any issues with your staff? Any positive tests or close calls or anything?
Yeah, some close calls of exposure to boyfriends or that have tested positive. We have a protocol in place that if you've been exposed and you get contacted by that person or the Iowa Department of Public Health, then you have to go get tested, and you're off work until your test comes back. If it comes back negative, then you can start work again. But if it comes back positive, then you're off for 2 weeks. So, and they've all come back negative. So we haven't had anything yet.
Great. Who wants to play off of that kind of same stuff Jenny went through at your facility? All right, Farron, you're up.
We've opened. We limited our pool to 250, and we have not reached capacity at all. Nowhere near it. We opened our first hour for Coralville residents only, and that has been a slow go too. We did not receive anything from our county health. In fact, I just got inspected indoor pool yesterday. He didn't say a boo anything about doing anything else here. So COVID does not exist in Johnson County, just saying that now. But things that, the only thing we've run into is our lap swim in our indoor pool. We are hosting University of Iowa swimmers, 3 local swim clubs, and 2 high school swim people that are just swamping us. That we actually had to do lap swim only for Coralville residents. We've had to change our schedules. We've opened up different times just to see if we can get everyone in locally. Haven't had any positives yet. Had 3 possible maybes. We really don't have a set protocol. So it was just determined by Sherry and Scott that we'll just quarantine for 14 days and just go from there. So knock on wood, I guess. If we make it through this summer, I'm buying a lottery ticket and retiring.
Sounds good. Thanks, Farron. Others on here? Brian, I know you've been through your ups and downs. You want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. I mean, we've had our very, very close calls, and we're still very grateful that at this point the city doesn't want to move forward with open swim. But we've isolated the way that we've set everything up. Like, for example, we just had a close call this morning. We are hosting a local club. Working with them in the partnership, one of their swimmers did test positive, and after review, it's isolated that it was not anywhere near the pool, so we're still operating. But it gets scary with that. But we're having that, then essentially, if that truly was the case, the way that we built, we have our time frame so we can, double disinfect. And yeah, we're still trying to figure it out as a city. But we are doing the lap swim, we are doing the water X, we are doing the lazy river. So we've structured those times, and we've actually established times after each program to connect with the community personally and say, all right, we're doing this together, let's work this together. And so it's been awesome. I mean, our community members are definitely on board. I've had more issues with teens actually than our actually staff and the patrons. I've been quite surprised. And then we also are kind of doing the diving program. So we're looking at that and gave leadership to that instructor. She presented her plan of social distancing. So I'd say all in all, I mean, we've kept it very bare bones, taking everything extremely serious, even if it's overbearing. And yeah, I mean, we've been slow. We're losing revenue now, left and right. People are pulling from our programs, but we're still in this power of let's do what we can to benefit our members. So I don't know if that clarified, but there's a lot of it.
Yep, and we're going to circle back to Brian. He's got some information on hosting swim teams and stuff that we would like to add to this meeting, just as those of you that might be looking at a potential secondary revenue source, and you've got some time. So we are going to circle back to Brian here, but Ankeny folks, West Des Moines, anyone want to chime in here?
Hey Kelly, it's Katie. Here in Ankeny, we are open for swim lessons, lap swim, water walking, and open swim. We have hit capacity a few times. Our capacity is 525, and so we have hit that. Additionally, we have had a COVID case among our staff, so we were out of commission for 2 days, 1 day to let it sit, and another day to clean with a cleaning company that we contracted. We've also had notification that we have had people in the facility who have tested positive for COVID after coming to our facility. That's only happened one time. They were actually there our very first day we were open. We got the notification Wednesday, and since we're doing QR codes online, we are able to contract trace back to those. So, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, is that someone's music or someone's phone or? I don't know where it was coming from, but.
Did I do it? I tried. It's hard because we're both right next to each other, so we're echoing in our offices like crazy, and I tried to shut it off, and I wondered if you'd be hearing my music. Sorry.
We heard you, Ryan. Do you want to chime in with anything else now?
No, she hit it. I mean, I think, obviously, the views are pretty widespread. globally, you know, around the country as well as in, you know, politically and all that fun stuff. And so I think, you know, even our city council, there was different views from within our team was different. I think what we expected, though, together was that we would have more people wanting to come, and we have really not seen the volume that we expected we would get. I would imagine that because our case where Katie was talking about with staff, I think, you know, it's only been a couple days. We've been open. That happened, and then we were closed on Friday and Saturday of this week to do the cleaning and the sitting and that type. And I would expect that is also limited. So we haven't gotten close to that capacity number lately. But what has helped is we went to the QR codes that she mentioned. So basically, we're not taking any cash. We've really tried to limit touch points, so we don't take any cash, no credit cards. We did put up plexiglass barriers for our staff and admissions, because I don't know if you haven't been to Cascade, it's an outside type environment for when you come to check in, and so we basically boxed them in with plexiglass and kept them separate, as well as getting rid of the cash and all that. And so the other thing we did, I guess, just to mention around the facility, other than limiting capacity, is we really put up a lot of signage, and we've used some barricades that we repurposed. So we've, you know, to call it funneling, you know, herding cattle or herding cats or whatever, but that's basically what we've tried to make it a no-brainer to do the things that we want people visiting to do. So.
Great. And you guys are still Ankeny residents only?
We are currently. I think that will be discussed. I mean, like today, the weather's pretty rough, and there was lightning this morning. We ended up not opening today just because of that weather, but a combination of maybe our case from last week and then the weather, but we literally only had 20 people signed up for the day, and so I think that's going to be discussed, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else want to chime in on their facility before we move on to like swim lessons or something else here? Or, I mean, now's the time to share. If you could press that restart button or change anything. This is what folks hopped on the call to.
I can talk about Des Moines a little bit. Yeah, we've been open for about 2 weeks. We opened on July 6th. Things have been going pretty smooth. Again, just getting in a routine of these new COVID standards and guidelines. Staff seem to be receiving it well. We've been doing a good job with having our masks on. We do have like the buff style mask that guards are wearing up on stand. And when they're roving and whatnot, when we're teaching lessons, we have a face shield, and that seems to be working a little bit better than the buffs. But other than that, I mean, again, teachers are still getting used to some of our new procedures. We're doing a good job with our cleaning. We did have a confirmed COVID case at the pool, so we closed, and we had the fire department clean, so we were planning on being open after that sits, and we'll open for business again tomorrow and lessons re-up. But other than that, things have been going all right in spite of being in a pandemic and making it work. I think that people are benefiting from us being open as far as the need for swim lessons and just recreating in a supervised facility with being in Des Moines in a big area where people have maybe not as many resources to use. So things have been going pretty smooth as they can be in a situation like this.
Okay,
I got a
great.
question for Austin, if I can. So
Sure.
when your staff has, you said the buffs on, that's the whole neck things, right?
Yep.
So we thought about that. What's your feeling on if they have to jump in to do a rescue and that being something that the person grabs onto?
Again, it's best case scenario for that. We're trying to, again, focus on rear rescues as much as possible, so it's not that face-to-face exposure. But again, practice are if things don't go as planned, those escapes, and it has not been an issue yet.
Yeah, because we purchased the masks that just go over, the cloth masks that go over around your ears, so that they could quickly pull them off if need be. So
sure.
But I kind of want to chime in on this because our staff have been debating on masks, and we're just kind of this style. How we've approached it as a city, it says we are going to provide a mask that we approve, But if you don't feel comfortable with it, you still have to wear a mask. And then before you come in, we have to make sure it's valid before you enter. So we let that flexibility a little bit with the staff, as long as they focus hard on when they enter through the gates, that mask is on 24/7 until they leave, type of deal. So.
And 2 of our 3 pools are 5 foot is the deepest, so we don't have as much of a issue with that because they can just stand up. But definitely a good point.
And I think Austin brings up a really good point, reminder that the Red Cross is recommending rear rescues for those, you know, active and passive. Now, when doing a recertification class or a regular cert, they have to go through all the skills, but I know the pools that I've been at doing some research and some staff training, it's just been a constant reminder that to be doing those rear rescues. Same thing with the CPR. I'm kind of hearing stuff all over the board, but they are not recommending that. Even blowing in and practicing on the mannequins is not what you should be doing. They're recommending the bag valve masks. You know, it's one person operating that bag valve mask during training. The Red Cross still does recommend 2 people operate the bag valve mask during an actual emergency. But just know that difference between what's recommended for the training and then those real life scenarios. So hopefully you guys are, if you need to, go back, look up on that COVID guidance under Red Cross, remind yourself of those things so that we are protecting our staff as much as possible during in-service trainings that should be ongoing throughout the entire season here.
Is anybody that has an outdoor pool not requiring your guards to wear masks?
We are. The city has not mandated masks in any of our facilities. It finally just last week got highly recommended, but not mandated. Before that, I left the option up to the staff to use masks, but I told them they're not wearing them here. I don't want that being a reason or a fidgety or anything like that. I can tell you my staff doesn't believe there's COVID. I can be down there 24/7 and try to promote social distancing, and they are doing okay, nothing great. One thing that has surprised me is that I do require them to go spray sanitize everything. They are all over that. That surprises the heck out of me. I can't get them to clean, but I can get them to spray something.
Same here, because I mean, we were not going to open, and then council decided on June 26th that they did want to try and open. So we're very limited. We have 4 sessions. We're not even charging. They're basically an hour-long session. They're only allowed to use the 0 depth entry area and the splash pad that we have. And then you can rent the pool at night, and that is up to 30 people. And it's $120 for that rental, but you get to choose the guest list that they have or that you have invited. So you're probably around people that you know anyways or hang out with generally anyways. So that's the way we're doing. But I kind of took the same approach because I knew trying to round up guards and staff it'd be tough. But we basically tell them that they need to have a mask with them on their body. And then if they have to perform scraped knee, a cut toe, whatever, that they put the mask on whenever they're inside of 6 feet of somebody else. But knock on wood, it hasn't happened that often yet. So
Marshalltown
opened up and went to, on the weekends though, we go to 30 in the pool for, so we're allowing them to use the whole entire pool on the weekends. So
in Marshalltown, we have masks are mandatory when they're in the guard room and or manager's office, when they're on deck, and any position on deck where they're in close proximity to any patrons, such as our 0 depth area and the slides and entrance exit for our lazy river. But otherwise, if they're on a high stand, they can take their mask off. And then we have signs up that nobody is to be talking to lifeguards while they're on duty. So, and we have roving people around that can answer questions and do things like that. So that's kind of eliminated the need for the mask while they're on a high stand.
Great. Anyone else that has their facility open that wants to chime in on any of that? If not, let's move on to swim lessons, how they're being operated at your facility, the good, the bad. I've had the privilege to be at Des Moines to teach WSI and found out how they were going to be operating their swim lessons, which was completely different than when I was at Ankeny finishing up WSI class as of last week. Both operations had all their pluses, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, why would we ever go back to some of the old ways that we taught lessons? So I'm anxious to hear from you guys what you changed and what you like about the swim lessons. Now that the Red Cross just gave us guidance on July 7th, I did print that out. So if anyone else has questions about it, I'm going to tell you there wasn't much on there.
I can go ahead and start this one for the swim lessons. It's kind of ironic when you're dealing with the staff who always have that universal, you want them to teach in the water and they're teaching out. Now this year, it's vice versa. You're trying to say you can teach out the water and they're wanting to teach in the water. So we've already kind of been in line with the guidelines already before Red Cross released them, but we approached it where if you're going to be teaching the water, your mask has to be on. And understanding the mentality of our staff, we say, like, you can teach 10 feet away. We're not talking 6 feet. We're talking 10 feet to add that buffer. So on average, they're coming in within that 5 foot row. I mean, right, that 6 feet that we want them. But what I'm saying is when they're teaching the water, that mask is kind of worn down, kind of as a chin strap. The only time that they need to approach anyone is if absolutely any possible way they have to get involved. They've been good at that. They have not been touching anyone. They haven't been coming close. They make the right choices of when do I need to approach somebody to correct a parent and a skill. So we approached it pretty well, but the way that we're doing it is we're definitely doing the parent in the water from the same household, 16 over type of deal, all that lingo. But we've kept it to, like, our preschool class is normally 4. We've kept it to 2 pairs, and our school age is like up to 6. We've now narrowed it down to 3 pairs. So we still hit kind of that ratio. We still maintain the social distancing. And what is happening too is we've created a kind of a mini handout map so people understand where we would like our programs to stay and be mindful of that social distancing. So yeah, that's it.
We have in Coralville offered lessons right away. Our first session was parent in the water. We did not get a whole lot of people. It went really well for considering. Then when we opened up, we have done regular lessons, pared down, scaled down. And the first week, 2-week session was the parent in the water. The second 2-week session was canceled. Not enough people signed up. Third session canceled. Not enough people signed up. We'll probably be canceling the one starting next week. Not enough people signed up. And our evening classes in July, not enough people signed up. So I'm finding people are not ready for lessons here. It's either they're not ready or they don't like that we're not doing something. I couldn't tell you. But the parents that were in the water with the kids, they really enjoyed it. But we also lost our shorts on that too because we didn't have enough people.
What else from those teaching lessons? What feedback can you give everyone?
In AIM, doing pretty similar to Farron with up through, we split level 3 into 3A and 3B, kind of force them to spend a little more time there because they're skipping to 4 too soon. But up through 3B, they have to have a parent in the water. Like Farron said, those who are doing it love it for the most part. But we did have a lot of people not sign up for those lower levels because they didn't want to get in the water or because they had too many kids and not enough parents to swing it. Surprisingly, our upper levels, I mean, we're seeing more kids in those upper 4, 5, 6 than like ratio wise compared to everything because parents don't have to get in the water. feedback has been really good. Our instructors either teach from the deck 6 feet back or in the water with a mask, but still keeping the 6-foot distance. So the parents are hands-on, staff are never hands-on. We have run all 6 of our sessions, or we start the last one next week. They will all run, but they are all significantly smaller. And what we basically ended up doing was saying, well, I can have 12 people spaced 6 feet out along the shallow end wall. So I can take combinations of classes up to 12 people in that area and kind of fit with the space to figure out how many people we can have. And then we would adjust the levels from there. So a lot of our class ratios are still a little bit smaller, but it's been good.
And Jill, these are all at your indoor facility, correct? Because you guys did not open an outdoor facility?
Correct, we are indoor only. And we're doing morning and evening. We also put 15 minutes between times. So that's to help eliminate traffic. We also have, with the new high school construction project, we have 19 parking spaces. And then like a back parking lot clear around the school. So we also have a 15-minute transition time between classes. That's been helpful to kind of control what's going on.
Great, thank you. What else on lessons from anyone? Feedback, changes you've made, guidelines? Did you follow the Red Cross now that you've actually gotten a chance to read them?
Okay, so you're probably dying to hear from me. So we had lessons prior to the Red Cross stuff coming out. So we adapted our lessons. Every staff member wears a mask in the water. We don't allow parents to come into our facility at all. And we have been working, it has been working out really, really well. Kids are excelling, but our class sizes are very small. We do keep it very low. And then but our sessions have been fairly well attended. So I'm pleasantly surprised. The staff themselves, they are actually enjoying the fact to wear a mask, you know, in the water and stuff. So they have no problem with it and understand it. And I even have the staff that are in level 4 that are teaching from the deck, they even wear a mask, even teaching from the deck. So we aren't necessarily following the Red Cross because we aren't having parents in there, but they also didn't send out information prior to it, like our inspector.
Yep, and there were different recommendations from the Red Cross. You know, again, these are recommendations, but it really did spell out a couple different options for people. So I wouldn't be too concerned about, you know, adjusting right now and changing. If you guys have found something to work, smaller class size, if some have parents in the water, I'm seeing some don't have parents in the water. So again, it's your decision on that one.
We started
lessons.
We started to do masks in the water. Again, learned real quick that we struggled a little bit with keeping those masks on. So we switched to the face shields. They tend to be really enjoying those. Kids are able to see the smile more, all of that fun stuff, a little more welcoming. We moved ratios down to 1 to 3. We offered parents, if they wanted to get into the water as that parent assisted lesson, they were more than welcome to. We have not had many take us up on that. Lesson numbers are a little bit lower. Again, I don't know if it's due to a marketing in addition to COVID and whatnot, but just still getting our ducks in a row with a quick amount of time and things changing so quick. So things are going all right. We have enough teachers and whatnot, but cleaning seems to be working as well. We rotate our equipment out for the equipment that's being used. But actually kind of surprised with how well our guards have been cleaning, because usually that's kind of one thing that we got to harp a little bit more on. So, and then we do allow our parents in. They've been socially distanced. A lot of them will sit. We have some picnic tables. All of our chairs and whatnot are out. If they want to bring their own chair, they can bring their own chair in to sit and watch. And it's been received well for the last week and then this week, but we'll see how the rest of the year unfolds. Trial by fire is the year.
I want to share with you guys, Deanna from Cascade could not be here, but she kind of wanted to pass on their situation in Cascade. So I'm just going to read the email that she sent to me. She said, we did open for lessons, lap swimming, and to the public. We started with lessons for 1 week, then proceeded to add the open swim in. We're doing cleaning every hour, encourage social distancing with markers, with regular routine announcements over the intercom and by the guard walking around. We were tracking who was at the pool on any given day. We were taking employees' temperatures upon arrival. We had to have additional employees on during the open hours for cleaning and watching. After being open 3 days, an employee went to get tested since he had a possible exposure. They then closed down 2 days until they got the results. The results were negative, and they had done additional cleaning during that 2-day period. They reopened and things were off and going well for a week and a half. Then we heard that a patron had went to get tested, but still had come to the pool while waiting for their results. They closed down the pool, and once they found out that person had tested positive, they decided to close for the remainder of the season. It was a good call, since following this, they've had 3 additional guards that tested positive. Short season, if they could rewind, they wouldn't have opened at all, but they would have, that wouldn't have been accepted very well, since this was a brand new facility that they were opening for the first time this season. So she hope that the other pools are having good luck with being open and following the closure of the pool. They also canceled 3 events that were to take place in early August, just other programming stuff. The case count has been rising in their county and within their community. So unfortunate situation for Cascade, but she just wanted to pass that on to you guys here. So got a couple other things. Kate and I were tossed around the idea, we were trying to get some information out, because we know that a bunch of guards had been contacted about potentially lifeguarding at some waterfront beaches, lakes that normally didn't have lifeguards. And it sounded like people were putting out the call for lifeguards, and we were trying to get some infographics and stuff together. And I ended up just posting the waterfront skills module fact sheets and stuff that Cindy had sent me after I'd reached out to her. So I don't know if any of your staff had gotten requests, but we just want to reiterate that the training is very different for just a regular lifeguard in an aquatics facility compared to something that is open water. So the places that I have gone and done staff training, in-service training for, I have passed this information on to them, that if you are contacted, I know this sounds like a great opportunity to make some additional money, but at this time, we weren't coming up with anyone that was within the state of Iowa trained in waterfront to be able to pass on that training to additional folks. So still the situation remains the same. So just something to maybe potentially pass on to your folks there, that you know, it is a different situation, and you just can't show up at a lakefront to lifeguard where something, for one, if they really don't have any established rules there and a new person and then not being trained in it, we just want to make sure that our staff is being safe and that our staff doesn't run into situations and become overwhelmed when they're really just honestly trying to do the right thing there. So on that same note, though, I think someone had passed on to me that up in Mason City, they are getting ready to host a triathlon on, I want to say the date was changed to September 5th. So they are seeking out some lifeguards. It is an open water swim. It's a lakefront setting again. So, but if you're up around that area and you have some staff, they're looking for guards. So just know that that training is not the same, but I don't want to take away people, you know, being able to work an event like that. But please note that I have worked triathlons in the past, and they seem to be on a lot of people's bucket lists, and a lot of people don't know how to swim. And every single event I ever worked, we rescued people. So don't think that it's a cakewalk. They're just swimming 300 yards. For someone that cannot swim 300 yards of doggy paddle, backstroke, walking as far as they can, it's a very scary situation, even for all of my years of lifeguarding experience. Very, very stressful situation. So again, I let them know that they were looking, that to pass on that they were looking, but again, maybe not the most encouraging thing for some of your younger staff that don't have experience in the open water. Okay. I had a question come in from Rhonda in Nevada, and she is recertifying LGI, and she's wanting to know if that course, because you now get the CEU certificate with some of your classes that you take through the American Red Cross, does that qualify for the CPRP certification? I did reach out to Cindy. She was not completely clear. She just pointed us to the NRPA's website that listed the qualified classes. Rhonda was unable to find that on there. So I don't know if anyone has any knowledge on that. I'd appreciate a yay or a nay on it, or I don't know, but I can pass that information back to Rhonda. And I guess it's something I'd like to share with the rest of the folks, just because, like I said, you do get those continuing ed credits for getting some of these Red Cross certifications, but do they count towards that CPRP or CPRE, any of those? So does anyone, clarification on that? Have you used that before?
I believe they do. I've listed it both on my CTRS and CPRP, and they've never been kicked back. I also have had, I mean, I've been lucky enough to have some wiggle room in numbers that I needed. So I guess it's not an official answer, but I have submitted and it's not been kicked back.
Okay, super. Well, we'll probably dive into a little bit more to get back to you guys on that. And Kate said she's gonna try and reach out to Haley at the NRPA for an answer. Thank you, Kate, for that. Couple other things I've got, and we're still open for discussion here. I'm just trying to check off my list here. If you are teaching any classes, all the classes that were on our Red Cross list have expired. So if you've got something coming up, let me know. I know that Anne, who's on here from the YMCA, we don't list non-member classes, but she did have a couple recerts. So I think she's got another one coming up here on the 18th if anyone's looking for a recert there. But members, that's one of your membership benefits, is advertising your Red Cross classes if you're looking to fill those. So just pass those on to me so that we can update that list and get those advertised for folks. There's not been many at all out there. Does anyone want additional information on the Learn to Swim guidelines for implementing measures to reduce the risk of COVID-19 transmission? Hopefully you guys all have read it, gone out to that page. It reviews a lot of the lifeguard training. It touches on the WSI toolkit, some of those. So a good chunk of the information is review, but if you haven't had a chance, head on out there.
I do have a question, and I haven't had time to research this, but is there any knowledge about recertifying WSIs? I mean, I haven't seen anything on that. And I know I'm expired now as I think a D, or I don't know, but any updates on Red Cross from that recertification process? Because we did see the interim, how to teach it, but I didn't see anything on current staff.
Brian, for updated stuff, I think, because you and I took our WSIT together, I think our cert got extended till September.
Okay.
for not only your WSIT, but for your WSI2.
Okay.
And I have yet to see anything in
Right.
regards to updating that. And I've stayed in touch with Cindy about that because she said, she's like, I don't want you to lose those. And I'm like, yeah, me either. But I still haven't seen any updates as far as updating those.
But
So
I
you're talking that when you haven't received your email 90 days prior to your cert ending and doing the online stuff, is that what you guys haven't seen?
there
Correct for me.
Right. There's that. And then the other issue is if you don't have that, yes, there's the extension, but do I have to create a course record for additional extension like we did with the lifeguards? I mean, that's kind of where I'm unclear with. If it's needed, because again, we were supposed to get our update before COVID and it still wasn't.
Yeah, it was supposed to be back in like whatever, end of February or something, and I never got anything in regards to it.
And you know, I got mine that was expiring in February, but I did it like December 29th, right before the site switched over, because I didn't trust that it was going to switch over. So I just did it then. So
Lucky. Oh.
yeah.
The instructor level certs were automatically extended through the end of September, or I think it's like the 28th or 29th of September. No, it's the last day of September, I believe. That was done because of the website transition. It had nothing to do with COVID. So you do not have to apply for the 120-day extension. It's anything, shoot, I don't remember the exact date, but when they transitioned. So it's like if you expired between, maybe it was like December 8th and September of 2020, instructors were automatically extended until that end of September date because of the transition in website.
Yeah, because I did an LGI research right at the beginning of January, and literally like right after my kids took it, everyone was extended. So it was kind of like, waste.
For what it's worth, I tentatively have one scheduled for Monday, an LGI review class, Monday, September 28th.
And it looks like Anne at the YMCA has an LGI research on August 15th as well. So you got a couple different options there for that LGI in person. Also, something new on the website, if you guys haven't seen, the LGIT needs to set up a blended learning request. And you need to know the students if your class, if they are a T or just an LGI. And then they'll be signing their code of conduct on there. So you're gonna sign up just like you would like a request of blended learning. Choose lifeguarding instructor is what I typed in, and then it gave me like 4 different choices there, like a regular class, and then the 2 reviews. So it's supposed to be them just signing their code of conduct and confirming that they have their profile set up on the Red Cross Learning Center page. So I just sent out the link today. I'm doing a couple research tomorrow. So I can get back to you guys. I asked the gentleman that I send it out to, a couple of them, I said, hey, just let me know what's on it. And we're meeting via Zoom tonight to go over our lecture stuff. So it's less time for us to be together in the classroom. And plus I thought it was just going to be easier to share the new Red Cross Learning Center page via shared screen than us sitting in the classroom. So I can pass on. If anyone wants to know, just please reach out to me following tomorrow night's class when I finish up, and I can let you know how that goes, what's on there. So I don't know if anyone knows any more about that than I do. I just caught wind of it and messaged Cindy and said, what am I signing these people up for? Okay. I got another question. What about regular guards whose WSI cert expires? Do they have an extension they should have gotten? I don't know that there's an extension. They're just required to teach that one class within the 2 years. So I don't know if folks waited till the very last minute, if they, I mean, that is an instructor class. So I'm assuming that falls under Jill's comment of all instructors were extended. Is that what you guys are? That's what I'm assuming
That's one thing I noticed with a lot of my staff who they needed to update their WSI, but they're basically in the same boat as like Brian and I. They can't do it. And I think a lot of that was because of the website update. They never even got an email. So I had them like log into the Learning Center, click on my certs, and then it showed that their WSI was extended until September 30th. I just went online and checked mine, and that's what it's listed for. So I just told them to watch out as that date gets closer. And if they don't see anything, at least by the end of August, beginning of September, to let me know. And then I'd get in touch with Cindy just with a list of everyone who needs to get updated.
Yeah, because we're within that 90-day window right now. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Doing the math, that's 3 months. Yeah. So should have been July 1. We should have done that. Yeah. So we'll all help each other out. If you've got information to pass on, please don't hesitate to share that with me so that we don't want instructors losing their certificates, and we certainly don't want ITs losing their certificate to have to go back to an academy. So let's all keep helping each other out here. Cindy is a great resource. I fire an email off to her, and it's usually within a very short amount of time she gets back to me here on these. So use her as your resource as well.
Can I add one more thing on that too? I mean, one other thing to keep in mind, because right now we have staff that are not working for us, they can't teach for us, but we are looking to put them in a one-time program like basic water rescue or home safety or all those miscellaneous courses that WSIS can teach. So they at least satisfy that teaching a course, and then once the website does work out its kinks, then we can handle that stress and they don't have to worry about reporting. So.
Okay. All right. Before we move on to Brian and swim team stuff, Steve has joined us, and if everyone can, if you haven't pulled up your chat there, but Steve's just reminding that NRPA in-person conference in Orlando was changed to just virtual there. So we're waiting for the information to come up, and we'll pass that on to you, as we know that CEUs are very important to you folks. Steve and I are actually working with our web folks to get an additional page added to our website under education, and it's going to be called CEU Opportunities. So as we know about already approved CEUs from around the from across the United States, we'll be posting those just like a job posting is the way we're looking to post those. So a little logo from whatever organization is putting it on, and then a link to their registration. So look for that in the very near future, as we know some people are starting to get a little nervous that missed our conference in Cedar Rapids, and just kind of looking ahead. We are planning on doing an in-person fall workshop to be held in Ankeny. We are moving ahead with plans on that. So hopefully you guys will be, now's the time to be checking with your city offices. Do we still have travel restrictions? What does this look like? Steve and I will have our registration information up and at a glance brochure out to you guys by Friday. July 31st is our deadline to get that information out. So, in the meantime, be checking with those offices. Can I travel? Can I stay in hotels? We will, most likely have some virtual options for you. Prices for a one-day conference compared to the full, day and a half, and they are moving ahead with the golf outing on Monday, Monday night social as well. So for those that attend in person, we're trying to make it look as normal as possible. We will make our drop dead final decision by, I think it's Friday, August 14th. We feel that schools would have made their decisions by that time as well. So we're trying the best to move ahead, but we'll be, watching everything very closely to numbers on COVID here. Okay, Brian, do you want to share with us your pool rental information and others that have done the same thing this summer? Go ahead and chime on in.
So yeah, this is mostly, I know a couple other members have swim teams in their facilities, so feel free to chime in. But I was kind of speaking on this because I'm still getting a lot of questions in our local area from our own peers to country clubs, all that. And kind of give your backdrop where this is at, where at least in central Iowa and the Des Moines area, there's been kind of this panic mode of the USA swim clubs and trying to find space. And so I've been kind of working with some coaches and various organizations, try to see what happens. But, you know, just like any other place, why this case came up is one of the clubs went directly to the council, and then it became we'll treat it like a rental. But really, when you operate swim clubs, there's a whole different set of layers. So this is kind of for those that are new to it, you know, just being aware that, yeah, swim clubs is an excellent source of revenue for a pool, especially during this time. I mean, the way that the USA swimming guidelines, they're great. I mean, they're reasonable. Okay, they're doable. And in working at this area, I've got a lot of shout outs like the YMCA Des Moines. I'm hearing a lot of great experiences from families and even some members on how they're handling it. So, Ann, you're more than welcome to chime in on that. But also, you know, we're working with DMSF, and it was really scary because they were forcing, why can't it be just like another rental? What happened is kind of just getting involved in saying, look, pump the brakes a little bit. There's a little bit more to it because they have their own insurance and they have their own waivers, and we have our own insurance and all waivers. And when you look at it logistically, it's not treated just like a pool rental. And then on top of that, there's some confusion when you look at the pool code itself. If you interpret it, and this is how I'm understanding from my sources, my insurance people and lawyers and friends and all that, I'm still waiting to hear it directly from the source. But regardless, a city pool needs to have a lifeguard, regardless if it's the program. I mean, that municipal pools have to have a lifeguard. Now there's a subcode, and the way that that's interpreted, that's more for private pools like Lifetime and country clubs. But ultimately, that overall goal with it, or that overall code, is we have to provide a lifeguard. So what the experience here was, the swim clubs were saying, hey, we will provide the lifeguard, which sounded lucrative to a couple of the council members. But again, pump the brakes. We know through experience sometimes that it's a hard fine line between lifeguarding and coaching. They can't do both. It's one or the other. And if you really look at some of the legal cases and some of those, why did this drowning occur during a swim practice? That's majority of it. It's because they're sharing both responsibilities. So if you are opening up to it, make sure that good conversation's there, making sure that they're the EAP. So what they understand your EAP. And how we told it with the club is, look, if you want to take ownership of this, we have to train you on the EAP. Otherwise, if we provide our lifeguard, we take full ownership of the stuff or the emergency. You just need to get kids out. Lucrative. They loved it. They ate it up like candy. So working on those relationships, and we were trying to get this in 5 days. It was really intense, but we did create a temporary seasonal waiver or agreement that could potentially go in the future. But having that agreement assigned by the parent committee, the head coach, the city, all that helps solidify everything. So let me revert back to this COVID situation that we had this morning, or that was reported. We had already the data ahead to understand where we need to go before we had to address. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but having that communication, having that agreement, how do we communicate rather, all writing is going to help you tremendously. So if you are playing around with the idea of swim clubs, do it. Love it. It is really, really it is amazing, especially during this time. But when you're doing it together, make sure you're working together and have your layers of protection in place before the green light's given. So that's kind of all I have. I mean, there's a lot of the big solidify some of these teams. Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for Brian?
Questions? I don't know.
I had a quick question. So are you controlling numbers at all, or is it,
You have 40 kids on the swim team, 40 kids can practice right now. Kind of how does that look? We're not open at all. We just had coaches promise that swim team was going to happen, so I'm trying to figure out what to do.
I'm sorry, was that to someone or me?
Anyone?
Okay.
Anyone?
I can jump in. So here in Ames, we opened June 8th. Swim team started practicing out at the country club. They did not return to our facility until last week, July 6th. We shared we are one person per lane. You have to 6 feet distance. So I said, I need to know exactly what your plan is. They provided me even names of people. They are going one person per end of each lane. So 9 lanes, they have 18 people. The one exception they do have, there's a lot of siblings. So siblings, if they're at the right level, they may start staggered on the same end. So there may be 3 people in a lane. Sometimes it's 3 siblings. But we just said, we need to know, there needs to be a definitive plan. We have 15-minute grace periods between things for people to pass because we really don't have a way to do one-way traffic. We've set the standards and said, these are the things you need to adhere to. With that information, tell me exactly what you plan to do. And I'll say, yep, we're good with that. Or nope, we need to look at this again.
You know, to add on to that, I mean, it's the same thing, exactly what we need to know. And I was kind of curious, Jill, did they give you a diagram that they're going to be working off of per the USA Swimming? Because I know they gave us, we're not going to exceed, I think it was diagram 2, which is more than 26.
Yeah, so they kind of made their own seating chart. So they made their own diagram like USA Swimming had, and then inserted their actual kids' names in the diagram for us instead of just having like an icon on this is a person.
That's cool. I like that.
Tammy, to go back to your question, we did 4 to a lane in Des Moines at Birdland. We started at 1 per lane and then moved to 4. It is 50 meters, so it's a little bit bigger. I don't know. We're still struggling with the whole social distance thing. We had a day where there was not as many people and they're still putting 4 to a lane. I'm like, that's not really the point we're going for. If you have less swimmers, you still can spread out, put all the lane lines in and use it to that capacity. So we're still feeling it out. Like I said, we closed today due to COVID case, so we'll probably clean and get back to it. But that's, again, going off of the USA kind of guidelines and whatnot. I know there's a lot of different scenarios and ways they had that set up. So we did our best to try to figure out what would be most convenient and still safe.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Does anyone know any updates from USA Swimming? I know they came out at first and said no swim meets, and not that every team is USA Swimming, but I know that there are swim meets happening. For those of you that have swim team, are you hosting meets?
We aren't, because we don't legally meet the requirements anymore because of that 9-foot change after what, 2009, 7? I don't know when it came out. So the team knows absolutely no meets. We could probably do clinics, but that's it. So
we are not doing meets in Ames. We are entertaining a inter squad meet, but keeping to the same number of kids that they have in practice teams. That's the other thing. Their kids that practice together are like a cohort. So the same kids always practice together. They don't cross between groups. At least that's the way it's
And
set
we're
up.
doing the same, Jill, the Y, considering inter squad meets. And then practice times, you're assigned a practice time. Even if the other one's more convenient for you next Thursday, you don't get to switch to the other option. And your lanes are assigned. They'll go up to 4 swimmers in a lane for us as a Y. Then for our rentals, as long as they're following the USA swimming guidelines, we are entertaining the number of swimmers that they are saying they would like, but at that point, they're not going more than 4 swimmers either, from what I've been seeing.
If you guys don't have your chat up, Kate from Iowa City is stating that Iowa City schools, sounds like they're going to be doing virtual learning until that looks like October 6th. But right now the school districts are planning to go ahead with normal fall sports practices unless they're pulled away. So I'm just reading Steve's quick here. Like to think that the girls athletic union and the boys athletic association will make the call on fall and winter sports in conjunction with the Iowa Department of Ed. So I know we're all trying to move forward in Grinnell here and assume that everything is back on track until we get it yanked away from us. So yeah, I know people want to know, but I'm not sure that, numbers right now, they can make a good prediction. Being just, we're still 5 weeks away from start. Maybe some people are starting back early, I don't know. But so just something to keep in the back of your mind for those swim teams. I would say Brian would probably be a resource, or anyone else that's hosting some of those. Like I said, it can be a good revenue stream and use of your facility in a manner that I think swim teams can potentially social distance pretty well compared to a lot of other activities that you're hosting at your facility. So we just wanted to make sure and share that information with you. All right, who's got anything else for the good of the group?
I do have one more thing. I was kind of thinking about this and I keep forgetting about swim lessons, but there are a lot of great successes in this turmoil too, to keep mindful. In fact, I know we were talking about we're already starting to look at 2021 with regular programming, COVID programming, and a hybrid. But what we're seeing is like the parent-child involvement has a lot of community value to it. So how can we keep rolling with it? And we're finding great responses with that. But the one thing we kind of took opportunity of COVID. We were just like, all right, this is the mud, so let's figure out how we play in it. We ended up building a rinse-off procedure with our swim lessons, and so far the first week and a half, it has been going well. Where one group's in, they rinse off, the instructors and the family talks about the importance of rinsing off and everything. And now, as I was leaving the facility yesterday, I heard this little girl says, well, we can't get in the water yet until we rinse off. And I'm like, something's working. So now that we have lower crowds, we're taking this opportunity to be like, once we get the full gas, the whole landscape of how we operate could end up changing and being even better. So be mindful of those good opportunities, but success is good there too. So.
Great. Good point, Brian. Thank you. Okay, well, we're just at an hour. Happy to stay on if anyone's got any additional questions. Like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll try and keep all those instructor trainers updated on stuff from the American Red Cross so no one loses those certifications here. But if nothing else, wish everyone a good afternoon, maybe a little downtime from the heat before it starts back up again this weekend.
Oh, it wasn't that bad last week on the golf course. It's okay.
Vince, I did think about you the other day because I was like,